All right, we got.
Tom MacDonald, Snowflakes.
I've been meaning to do this. I've had it on the back burner, so I wanna see what he got.
He's always Gucci'd up. The North Fac. The North Fac Gucci? I love that he's always wearing something fake too.
Yeah.
If you lie to the government, they'll put you in prison. But when they lie to all of us, it's called being a politician. You think taking guns away will save our kids from the killings? But you're pro-choice, abortion kills way more children. If America's so terrible and racist, it probably isn't safe to encourage immigration. Just saying, all the contradictions are embarrassing. You know who hates America the most?
Wow, that one line already. Like, if America is so unsafe, it's probably a good idea not to promote immigration. Like, why would you want more people to come into some place that's unsafe?
Yeah, I like how he points out some of the contradictions that happens in politics.
And like the double standard that happens. Fake woke.
If America's so terrible and racist, it probably isn't safe to encourage immigration. Just saying, all the contradictions are embarrassing. You know who hates America the most? Americans. Trigger warnings used to be on TV for seizures, and now
That was, I love that line. As funny as that line is, like, it's so true, and I think it's what's promoted in the media, and it's also a part of it is what you're taught in school. You're almost taught to essentially hate America. I remember when I went to school as a kid, like they promoted America like we were the good guys all the time, in like history classes and stuff like that. And now, like, I guess I will say like 15, 20 years later, now they're painting a picture of us being bad and racist and sexist and ageist. And
In other countries, you're saying?
no, just here.
Oh.
That wasn't like a central point, where now like what they teach you in school is very like critical race theory, so it's interesting how our narrative in education switched from like us being this country that's essentially like good. We've been painted as America is typically painted as a good country. At least that's how I was taught as a kid.
Like the big brother to everyone else.
Right.
Yeah.
And now it's not being taught that way. Now it's being taught as if we're like to kind of like push. I think it's just to push students into being activists as they get older. And I think that's the intention behind it. But I like how he points that out. It's interesting.
I love what he's about to say, that like trigger warnings used to be for people with seizures.
choice, abortion kills way more children. If America's so terrible and racist, it probably isn't safe to encourage immigration. Just saying, all the contradictions are embarrassing. You know who hates America the most? Americans. Trigger warnings used to be on TV for seizures, and now they're everywhere to protect millennials' feelings. He, she, his, him, hers, them, they. Screw a pronoun, cause everyone's a retard these days. I hear them preaching at the protest that hatred's the problem, but hating straight men, white folks, and Christians is common. Coca-Cola telling people they should be less white. They preach intolerance, but if you disagree, they fight. There's a race war here, elections based on fear. Black lives only matter once every 4 years. Soldiers died for this country, and everyone...
I love that, essentially saying that they're steering up racial fears essentially to get votes. Because at the end of the day, that's what it boils down to, is like how many votes you can get.
Right, and it's their talking point to get their votes.
Right, and it also draws up a lot of
Separation.
separation and attention.
Yeah.
And that's what you want when you're running a campaign. You want attention. Doesn't always have to be, like, obviously you prefer positive attention, but you want attention. And yeah, I think that's a great way of getting it, because you're kind of, when you talk about race, sometimes you're kind of getting into people's emotions. And when people are emotional, they tend to put into action when people are emotional.
And when they're emotional, they can't really think straight.
That too, exactly. Kind of eliminates the logical side of them.
Yeah. It's interesting how the scene here, it's just straight trash, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And there's America behind it, like showing that like America's trashed.
is white. They preach intolerance, but if you disagree, they fight. There's a race war here, elections based on fear. Black lives only matter once every 4 years. Soldiers died for this country and every one of us benefits. Give welfare to the bums and forget about the veterans. Black folks and white folks divided by the news, but we are all the same. We are red, white, and blue. Ashamed to be American? Okay, that's cool. Cause honestly, we are all ashamed of you too.
Y'all are so fake, oh no. The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane. More flames, oh no. No more snowflakes.
They set us up to fail, that's what they built the system for. Put an ammunition shop across the street from a liquor store. Empowering women used to be different than this before. The role models got OnlyFans or dance on a stripper pole. Screw it, I ain't tripping, I don't mean to be mean. But if our children are the future, then our future is bleak. They take an Adderall to focus, hit McDonald's to eat. They're addicted to phones and they take Xanax to sleep. They blurred the lines dividing communism and democracy. In 2021, we paint the patriots as Nazis. The men playing women's sports get trophies for winning. Like, great, let's celebrate a man for beating some women. If you're black, your life matters, you're supposed to embrace it. If you're rich or you're smart, then you're probably Asian. If you're gay, then you're brave, all of that I'm okay with. But if you're white, the stereotype is you are a racist. Blaming capitalism like that.
Yo, he's really going in on the hot topics. Like, there's a lot of buzzwords here, right? Like,
Yeah.
He gets into like the gender pronouns, and it's a lot of what he's saying like has some truth to it. Like, when it's funny how like when you were at some point white and straight was kind of a norm, where now white and straight is almost painted in a negative light sometimes. I wouldn't say all the time, but I think and I'm not opposed to people. Like, people should stand up for what they are. Like, I think people should be able to openly speak about like their sexuality without being judged. So I think people that are like not heterosexual should be able to do whatever they want, right? But at the same time, I don't think you should demonize people for having a belief of like they think people should be straight. Like, for instance, I don't think Christians should be demonized for having the belief that they think being heterosexual is what you should be, because that's a belief that you were taught and that's your religious belief, and that should be fine. I don't think they should get demonized for that, just like I don't think the LGBT community should be demonized for what they believe. Like, everyone should have their beliefs, whether you agree with it or not. And I think that's where there's so much pushback, because like you have people that are like bigots, where it's like you have to believe that I'm this, so you have to call me this, which is essentially where the pushback is with the pronouns, because you're forcing people to believe in your beliefs when you're forcing people to address you a certain way. So I can understand it.
Yeah, it's definitely a tough topic to find a neutral point. And I think just understanding that it's not personal when someone doesn't believe in what you believe in. So it's very contradicting when one belief group is expecting another belief group to believe in what they want. But at least respect it.
Right.
I think like the world today just needs a lot more respect.
Right. But I also think that what's hard is that people are typically very sensitive sometimes. Like that's why I don't have like conversations about like politics or religious conversations, because people are very sensitive with their beliefs. The minute you kind of attack their ideology a bit, like they get very defensive and very angry. It's like, oh, this is my life. This is what I believe in. Like with their entire being, they believe in something. And I think when you're that handcuffed to an idea, it's very hard to break free of that. You're not malleable or adaptive anymore, because you're just kind of stuck in that way of thinking, like it has to be that way. And that's why I'm not really a fan of ideologies or religious or religion. But at the same time, I can understand a little bit of everything and try to be like, oh, that makes sense. I don't really agree with that, but that also makes sense. But some people are just like stuck. It's like, yo, you have to believe this because this is who I am. So you have to believe that.
Yeah.
So I think Tom does a great job with kind of addressing that.
Yeah, he plays a great devil's advocate.
Yeah.
You're supposed to embrace it. If you're rich or you're smart, then you're probably Asian. If you're gay, then you're brave. All of that I'm okay with. But if you're white, the stereotype is you are a racist. Blaming capitalism like that's the reason things are tough. While you tweet from an iPhone and sip on a Starbucks. You're supporting what you stand against. You don't think you are, but a Percocet addict don't donate money to pharma. Damn, dog. We're all afraid to speak the truth. And the more afraid we get, the more we hate the ones who do. You're ashamed to be American? Okay, that's cool. Cause honestly, we are all ashamed of you too.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's the real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa.
And that was perfect. Snowflakes melt when it gets hot, because a snowflake, like, I don't know if you know the terminology of snowflake. It's a pretty new term that I actually had to learn like within the last couple of months, where it's like someone in like who grows up in like the 90s generation, like pretty much like our generation, are very sensitive to opposing views, and they get like emotional essentially. Mm-hmm. It's why they call like I've seen usually Democrats being referred to as at least radical Democrats or radical left, because like they're very opposed to other views. And they get very highly emotional and highly sensitive. So usually it's referred to as someone that's highly sensitive to other views, but typically like radical left. So I like how he kind of uses that line as snowflake, but also like the actual snowflake. And I think like what you pointed out earlier about like the trash, because it's so trashed, is because I think people refer to Tom as trash, like he's trash. And I think that's why he puts all this trash in the music. You're like, okay, I'm trash, and I'm going to put all this trash here too.
Yeah.
And I'm still going to speak this garbage.
And he's going to trash it.
Yeah.
The forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
I feel like he's the only artist today that consistently talks about real issues that are going on. Like, he truly uses his platform to just expose important topics so that people, one, could either realize or kind of be like when you like put a spotlight on someone. Like, I think that's what he does really well with his music, and he's just really good at that. Like, it's becoming his brand.
Yeah, I actually I admire his courage to speak up on topics that most artists wouldn't speak on. I said it before, I think that's what makes him a great artist, is that he expresses himself unfiltered.
I wanna say he still somehow must filter stuff.
I don't think he filters much. Maybe he does. I mean,
like, I would be very curious to like see what actually gets thought out and then written out, and then what he kind of takes out, because like you still have to be very careful not to like sabotage your own career too.
Yeah, I mean, but he's already been alienated in some way, right? Because of what he's speaking on, there's a lot of people that won't support him, because he's essentially, like, I wouldn't say taking a position, but like he obviously tells you in his videos like what he thinks is stupid, what he thinks is not stupid. You know what I mean? So he shares his views, and I think anytime you share your views politically or religiously, like you put yourself in a position to alienate yourself from alienate certain demographics of people that you know aren't going to support you because of what you're saying. So I think just from that alone, you can tell he's an artist that's like, fuck it, I'm just going to make music the way I want to make it. Like, not everyone's going to like it, not everyone's going to support me, but that's okay because I'll have my group of supporters anyway, which I think is good because it's hard. You can't cater, as you know, you can't cater to everybody. Like, some people are going to fuck with what you're doing, some people are not, and that's fine to not be for everybody. And I don't think anyone should strive to be for everybody.
Yeah, it's definitely impossible.
Yeah.
Like, I like imagine if Tom wasn't making music, like we wouldn't have an artist out there just talking about things that are so taboo to talk about. Because like people typically talk about what the media sides with. So like the fact that he always sheds light on the other side, like it's I have like gratitude for it, you know?
Yeah, it's
because like without people like that in this world, like it would turn to shit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think you need different viewpoints in different areas, right?
Yeah.
Like when you're listening to podcasts, you want different viewpoints. When you're listening to music, and music's huge, it has a huge influence on our society. So with music, you need to hear different viewpoints. If it's the same viewpoint for music, that can be very dangerous because you're going to influence the majority of younger kids with one viewpoint, which can be used to manipulate. So I think you're absolutely right. I think he's become the voice of a different viewpoint of what I would consider logical, in a sense, to critically think. And I think he also paves the way for people to, like, hey, you can speak on topics that you wouldn't necessarily speak on, or hey, you can do this independently. So like he's leading by example in that way too, which I think is important. Because then when you see someone else do something, and that's why Eminem was so important to a lot of people, because you've seen Eminem do it during a time where like there wasn't successful white rappers. So when Eminem broke through and did it in the way that he did, people were just like, yo, I can do this shit too. Remember, like, I don't know if you remember the guy who broke I forgot. I think it was a 4-mile record. I forget what the record was, but like when someone usually breaks a record, it kind of paves the way for other people to be like, yo, I can break that shit too. Like, he's not the only one. And I think Eminem did that for the rap industry. And I think Tom will do that with people speaking up on things that they wouldn't normally speak on, give them that courage.
Yeah. I just love how he exercises freedom of speech, you know, like considering like how controlled other countries are with their media, like things like that make me appreciate his music and people who touch on controversial ideas or unpopular ideas.
I agree.
Snowflakes.
Snowflakes.
Yo, I love the part where he's like, the forecast said there'd be snowflakes. Like he always throws in like a bit of like humor in it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Hello.